What's up, everybody? JT Sports here, back to you guys with another NFL free agency update. The Pittsburgh Steelers, according to Jordan Schultz, have signed former Bills cornerback Levi Wallace to a 2-year deal worth $8 million. Levi Wallace was one of the more underrated free agents going into this year's free agency. He had a fantastic season with the Buffalo Bills in 2021. As a matter of fact, 2021 was a career year for Levi Wallace. He stepped up big time for that Bills defense. The Bills had the #1 rated defense in the NFL. Statistically, they lost cornerback Tre'Davious White due to a season-ending injury. And Levi Wallace stepped up and came up big for the Buffalo Bills. And there was one website that had Levi Wallace listed as the one free agent that the Buffalo Bills could not afford to lose. And Bills fans, when you look at their reaction to the news, they're not really happy. A lot of Bills fans wanted to keep Levi Wallace, and understandably so, because he performed really well for the Bills, and he's been pretty good for the Buffalo Bills over the last couple of seasons. And now for the Pittsburgh Steelers, you upgrade your cornerback room. And not only that, but you got Levi Wallace for a pretty cheap price, like a 2-year deal, $8 million for a guy of Levi Wallace status, I think is a steal. Now, I understand that many people probably aren't going to get too worked up about this signing because Levi Wallace isn't one of the big name cornerbacks in free agency. He's not as big as a J.C. Jackson or Stephon Gilmore or even a Carlton Davis. However, Levi Wallace, I think this signing could end up being one of the most underrated free agency signings by the end of next season. You remember when the Steelers signed Steven Nelson a couple of years ago? He was at the time heading into free agency, playing for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he was the Chiefs' best cornerback. Well, Pittsburgh brings him in on a pretty reasonable contract, and Steven Nelson balled out. He was really good when he was playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think that Levi Wallace could end up having, during his 2 years in Pittsburgh, a similar run to what Steven Nelson had. And Steven Nelson was playing at a top 15 level when he was playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you look at Levi Wallace, he probably isn't a top 10 cornerback in a lot of people's books, but based on his performance last season, you probably could make the argument that he's a top 20 corner. And with Pittsburgh, he's going to be asked to do a lot. And I'm also hoping, along with other fellow Pittsburgh Steelers fans, that Ahkello Witherspoon gets brought back as well, coming off a career season. Also earlier today, the Pittsburgh Steelers signed offensive guard James Daniel to a 3-year contract worth $26.5 million. $8.75 million of that is going to be a signing bonus. That's included. James Daniels has been one of the best offensive linemen that the Chicago Bears have had. He was the best offensive lineman on the Bears roster last season. He pretty much looked like the only offensive lineman that looked like he was capable of being able to put his hands on somebody and block. And this is huge for the Pittsburgh Steelers because one of the biggest holes that the Steelers had going into offseason this year was the offensive line. Well, now you sign James Daniels. You lose Trey Turner. He was starting for you at guard last season. So you bring in James Daniels, who definitely is an upgrade from Trey Turner. Now you're going to have Kevin Dotson when he ends up coming back. Now you have your 2 offensive guard spots taken care of. You also re-signed Chucks to a pretty reasonable deal. And it's a deal that pretty much is heavily in your favor. So the Steelers have been making a lot of good moves that I have loved over the last couple of days outside of signing Mitchell Trubisky. And I'm not against the Mitchell Trubisky signing. I don't have a problem with it. It's just, I didn't really want Mitchell Trubisky, so of course I'm not going to be happy with it. However, I am giving Mitchell Trubisky a chance. But when you look at James Daniels, this guy is the definition of solid. He is the definition of consistency. He has been one of the better offensive guards in the league doesn't really get talked about that much because, you know, first of all, we don't really pay that much attention to the offensive line unless it sucks. But when the offensive line is good, we don't really talk much about it. But James Daniels is the definition of consistency. And you bring in James Daniels to this Pittsburgh Steelers organization, and you're going to pair him up with Kevin Dotson. You also have Chuck Okorafor there at right tackle. I think this offensive line is already drastically better now with the addition of James Daniels compared to what it was last season. On top of that, James Daniels was one of the better offensive linemen in free agency. He was, you know, everybody's either second or third best offensive lineman in free agency behind Brandon Sheriff and Teron Armstead of the New Orleans Saints. So this is really big for the Pittsburgh Steelers to bring him in. And if Mitchell Trubisky or whoever's going to be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers next season is going to have success, they're going to have to be able to have more time to throw the football than what Ben Roethlisberger had last season. And signing James Daniels is a huge step towards, you know, improving the offense overall. Now all the Steelers really need to do is find a center. Now what's going to happen? Are they still comfortable with keeping Kendrick Green at center, or are they going to end up signing another center? Because there are rumors that they have been in the market. They've been in on a couple of other centers. You got the center from Tampa Bay. They have been linked to a couple of other ones as well. So if they bring in another center, it pretty much looks like Kendrick Green is probably going to be, you know, a good versatile backup who can either play guard or center depending on where they need him to line up. So I think the Steelers are most likely going to either bring in another center, and then I also could see Pittsburgh still either drafting a quarterback or still drafting an offensive tackle in the upcoming 2022 NFL draft. So you guys let me know what you guys think about the Pittsburgh Steelers signing Levi Wallace and offensive guard James Daniels down in the comment section down below. Make sure that you like the video and subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications so you don't miss when I upload breaking news when it comes to free agency. You know, free agency is crazy. Players are getting signed left and right. If you want to stay notified and up to date with the latest free agency signings, make sure that you turn on post notifications. And I appreciate you guys for watching this video.